Hey folks, okay, so we are going to do a little bit of review of seventh chords in inversion. Just as a quick review of the review, we have our 5 types of seventh chords that we're going to be talking about right now. We have our major 7, our A7, which is with a major triad and a minor 7. We have A minor 7, which has a minor triad and a minor 7. Half diminished 7, which has a diminished triad and a minor 7. And then our fully diminished 7, which has a diminished triad and a diminished 7. So major, major, nobody really calls it that. They just say A major 7, or whatever the letter name is that's over here. That could be B flat, could be C, could be, whatever the thing is. So these on the top, this big M, like capital M, 7, you don't have to do that unless it's something that you want to do to keep it clear for you. Obviously, this can really help you to identify what type of seventh chord it is. Down here, we kind of have our lead sheet notation. So A major 7, we have that superscript for the MAJ, and 7. Usually the 7, when we have a major minor 7, is going to be a bigger 7 that's next to a capital or a smaller letter. Actually, it won't be a smaller letter, because what it would be in that case is a minor 7. So sometimes you might see A minor 7, or you might see, little a 7, but I would say this kind of doesn't happen all that much. You're so much more likely to see that. Okay, so then we have our half diminished 7, which again, you might see the degree symbol, but you also might not. Sometimes this is really hard to make. I have to like copy and paste it every single time I want to put it on a test or use it, because even trying to get the Unicode symbol to come up doesn't always work. So sometimes instead you see A minor 7, but they indicate a flat 5 in that superscript to let you know that you're dealing with a diminished triad. This still indicates the minor 7. And again, you might have a fully diminished 7 where you have a, and that diminished 7 is going to mean that both the triad and the 7 are diminished. You also might see it as A minor, flat 5, flat 7, which tells you it's fully diminished. Okay, so after going over that, now we need to talk about the different inversion symbols that you're going to see. We'll do inversion symbols and the lead sheet symbols here. Let's just stick with this an A7. So let's do A, C sharp, E, and G. This root position, again, we were talking about like the full government name and the nicknames the other day, and we discovered through our Googling and looking in different places that the A7 that we actually put is kind of shorthand for A753. But obviously that's a pain in the butt to write all the time. So A7 is way easier. So when we see a root position 7th chord, we're just going to give it that 7. Now if we put the 3rd on the bottom, C sharp, now we have C sharp, E, G, and A. And yes, you will see a note head kind of offset in this stack. They don't really stack them like right on top of each other or something like this. They don't really do that. So you will see a note, sort of one of the note heads offset somewhere in that stack. When we have the 3rd on the bottom, again, we sort of went on that little journey, that discovery of how and why we label these the way that we label them. So what we have here is 6, 5, 3. And again, that's kind of a lot to write. So they say, here's the information you need to know. 6, 5 is going to indicate something different than in our triads. We have 6, 4. That means something. We also have 6 or 6, 3 in our triad inversions. So keeping that 5 there is really helpful for us actually, and it allows us to differentiate between that inversion to say, yes, this is a 7th chord. This isn't a triad of any kind. So we would label this A 6, 5. Now for our lead sheet symbols, much easier. We just have like an A7. We need to indicate that it's a 7 chord, and we're going to write what note is in the bass? C sharp. Okay, now we have we've got E, G, A, and C sharp. So now we have our fifth in the bass. And again, on our journey of discovery the other day, we said, what are the intervals between the note that's on the bottom and all the other notes in the seventh chord? So we have let's see, we had 6, 4, 3. And again, we don't want to get 6, 4 confused with anything else. We don't want to get 6, 3 confused with anything else. That's a lot of things to write. So instead, they're just going to shorthand it to 4, 3. And our lead sheet symbol is just going to be A7, and then you put the note that is at the bottom on the slash, like after the slash to the right. Okay, then our last one, I'm going to bring this down an octave. We've got G, A, C sharp, and E. So in this case, again, what's our interval between the bottom pitch and all the other ones? We have 6, 4, and 2. Again, that 6-4 business that can get us really confused with a triad. So let's get rid of it. So now we have A, 4, 2, and A7 with a G in the bass. Now it's really important that you make sure to write A7 in your lead sheet notation, because if not, it just is an A triad with G in the bass. And while that doesn't seem like it would be very common, I actually just played something not too long ago that just had this 7 in the bass, and it was like, we want the triad over here, but we want the G in the bass, and it was not meant to be notated as an A7. And I was like, okay, well, great. So you do want to make sure that that 7 is there. So with our traditional notation, we have that phone number that can help us at 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 4, 2. So you have, when your root is on the bottom is 7, when the second or the third of the chord, right? So our third of the chord, our fifth of the chord, and our seventh of the chord. I guess instead of calling that 1, we could say root. All right, so 7 is the root. The third on the bottom, we have 6, 5. Fifth on the bottom, 4, 3. 7 on the bottom, 4, 2. And then your lead sheet symbols are a little bit more self-explanatory. Okay, let's do just a little bit of identification. So and then let's make sure that I have everything the way that I want it. We've got E, G, B flat, and then a D. Okay, so with D, E, G, and B flat, when we see something like this, we know we're dealing with the 7th chord, likely, or something that has a non-chord tone, but we can try and stack it. This is where that idea of stacking comes in. And you wonder, can I make all of these on a line and move this one that is on a space to a line to help me figure out what the root of this chord is? Okay, so now that I've done that, I have E, G, B flat, and D. And if E is the root, I would look at essentially my E, could look at E minor or E major or whatever, just to determine what the quality of all of these things are. If you're like me, determining whether it's a major, minor, interval, sometimes that's what you got to do. So if we say that E is our root, we have a minor third, we have a diminished fifth, so we know we're dealing with one of the 7th chords based off of a diminished triad. So we just need to know, is it a half diminished 7 or is it a fully diminished 7? Meaning, do I have a minor 7 or do I have a diminished, or do I have a diminished 7? What's my interval? So D sharp is what is in the E major scale, so D natural is just the minor 7. So I have a half diminished 7 chord, but I have the 7 of the chord on the bottom. So I have E half diminished, and I have the 7 on the bottom, so that's going to be 4-2. Or if I'm using lead sheet notation, I could write that as a couple different things. I could do E half diminished, and then I could put D in the bass, or I could do E minor, flat 5, and then 7, or rather E minor 7, flat 5, sorry, which indicates to me I have a minor 7, but I have a diminished triad. You could also do E dim 7, right? That still tells me that I have a minor 7 and not anything else. All right, so all of these are potential ways to notate it before the slash. So what I now need here is to say, oh yeah, D, and then D. That tells me the inversion. All right, let's look at another one of these. Let's see, how about, and I'm gonna do this one not in close position. I'm gonna do this in like something that's a little out there. Okay, so this is an open position, and obviously I'm gonna need to stack here. I've got some things on lines, some things on spaces, but I mostly have it on lines. So let's see if I can put that B can fit here on a line. So the root of this is G. So I'm gonna be dealing with G something. And I've got GBD, so I have a major triad. So I'm either dealing with a major major, or I'm dealing with a major minor 7. And in G major, we have F sharp, so I have a major 7 on top. So this is a G major 7. But I have B on the bottom. So that is the third of the chord. So that is a 6-5. So I would write G, M-A-J, 6-5. So all the information I need to know if I'm reading this quickly is right here. I know that I have a G major 7th chord with a major 7, and that the B is going to be in the bass. That is the traditional notation for that. And then I could do G, M-A-J, 7, B. I could also, sometimes you see something like G with a big M7, B. I don't really like this one because I think it can get really confusing. That's not a personal preference, or that is a personal preference. I actually really like the little M-A-J and 7. I just feel like every time I see that, I really know what's happening there. M's can get confusing. Is it big? Is it little? How is the person writing it? I'm not 100% sure. Okay, so when you don't have something in a stack, you just stack it up. The only thing that you can't do is then analyze this and go, okay, great, it's a G major 7 in root position. It's not. That helped you to determine what the root of the chord is. This is what you're actually analyzing, so you need to make sure that you notate that B is in the bass. Okay, I hope this helps.